Okay, try it. Yep, it's working.
Hello and welcome to PLANNERCRAFT. I'm Natalie and I'm going to be taking you through some colouring techniques. So here I've got a couple of die cuts that I've done some basic shading to, and I'm going to show you how to get this far and then how to take it further. So I'm going to start off by using a hot air balloon die cut, and I'm going to use a square blending tool with some foam on and a distress re-inker. Now I'm working on a glass mat, so I can apply some ink directly to the mat. Now this is antique linen, which is a lovely light colour. You said you wouldn't want to do this with walnut ink.
Hang on.
Sorry about that. Just a few technical issues. So I'm just tapping my re-inker into my blending sponge, and then I like to work from the top down, so I'm going to rotate my hot air balloon so I can start to bring the colour in from the edges. Now because our die cut is embossed, it'll start to pick up some detail anyway. And don't worry if it crinkles, because that will add to the effect. If you do have any questions about what I'm doing, please put them in the live chat. I have Ian manning the live chat tonight, so if you have any questions regarding colouring, the scan and cut, die cutting, you name it, we'd love to hear. So I'm just going to start working from the bottom. Now obviously this is going to be the darkest part of our hot air balloon. Now you want to use up the rest of that just to go over the top, and this will help your next layer blend in. Okay, now I'm going to change tool, and I'm going to go to one of the Heartfelt Creations detail blending tools, this little triangular one, and I'm going to use a distress ink pad, which is going to be walnut ink. So the walnut ink is our deepest shade of brown, so this is going to help everything recede that needs to. So if I bring my original sample back in, you can see that we've used it here and here right in the middle, as well as shading underneath our balloon to try and give it that nice 3D effect. And I'm going to start at the bottom, because you're going to want to work where you know it is the darkest, and then we can blend in after. Remember, you can always go back to your antique linen to help you blend your colours later. So think about the form that you're shading. So right here we want to give the impression of the rounded bow. And same with the back edge. You can see our embossing is starting to really do the work for us. Now I'm just blotting this off just because I really want to try and keep this nice and smooth rather than having the texture of the sponge showing. Now remember, the deepest part of our balloon is going to be underneath, so we need to add in some of our walnut just to add the shading in. Now if you go really lightly, you can just pick up your embossing areas, or you can press on a bit more for the areas that you really need to add the depth of colour to. Now these bits where our antique linen is starting to look a bit flat, we can dry brush our ink on to pick up the embossing detail. Now this technique I'd recommend if you're using dies that you don't have the coordinating stamps to. Okay, so there's our hot air balloon so far. I'm just bringing in a brushable, and this colour is Root Beer Float, and it's the darker shade of the two. Brushables are really good for blending because they have the twin tips in the two shades, but I'm going to go in with some water. And very gently, don't want to plug too much water, so if you're noticing your brush is a bit wet, just going to grab some kitchen towel, soak up our puddle a bit, and take a little bit of water out of our brush. Now remember, your distress inks are water active, so you will get some colour shifting beneath where you wet. I'm just touching some darker shades in around this section just to help this front section pop out a bit. Now we can start to add some detail. And just around this back edge, I'm just going to add some shading in. And finally, just going to add some warmth into this back section here as well. Be sure to dry before you replace your image at every time, otherwise you can contaminate it. So same up here, we can start to add detail bits in. So I'm just going around the top bits where the embossing doesn't quite reach the edge. It's just the nature of the dye. And plus, being next to the edge, you can handle the extra darkness. I'm just going to do this side so it matches. So you can see we're starting to build up the detail in our image just from our die cut. Okay, next I'm going to move on and show you a cut file and how to work with those. So I'm just going to clean my brush, just needs a quick scrub on your kitchen towel and clean my mat. I'll put my blender back away for a moment. So here we've got one of my cut files from July, which I've just had drawn in pencil on the machine. And then we can actually start to build up our colour, so we actually create a watercolour effect, and then we can cut it back out on the machine after.
Can't actually see the pencil, so I'm going to lift it up towards the camera.
Okay, I'll lift it up so hopefully you can see it a bit better.
There's a delay, so I can't see you.
Just allow for the 30-second delay.
That there's something there. That's better. Yeah, you can see bits of it coming through now.
Okay, that's better. So here I have a little collection of pens that I'm going to be using. So I've got a clean colour real brush in light pink. I've got a brushable in pure pink. I have a clean colour 2, which is a twin tip with a fine and a bullet point in purple. And another brushable in the hyacinth, and we'll be using that with our water brush. So I'm going to start with my darkest and work out lighter. So start on one flower and then move on to the next one. Don't try and do them all at once. I'm not working on any fancy watercolour paper or anything like that. So I'm just going to use my pen in some flicking motions just to bring some detail in. And you can rotate your card as you need to. And don't worry too much at this point. This is mainly to blend into our background. Okay, so that's our purple. We're going to move a shade lighter. So for this one I'm going to go to the pink. And you can see they're very closely matched. So I'm literally just touching in at the base of each petal. And then I'm going to flick ends to the lighter colour, and we can start to drag these out a bit. Finally, we're going to go to our lightest colour. And just blend that in. And finally we're going to use our water brush to then blend that all together before we go back and add our final detail. So the brush is still blobbing. And it's just touching in on the darkest area. And I'm going to use my lightest pink just around the tips of my petals. Now, if you're doing this with a scanning cut, you have the benefit of being able to use the scanner to align your cut file. But if you're doing this on any other cutting machine, what I would say is actually extend your painting past your pencil line to give yourself that room for movement. Now I'm going to show you another way that you could do that, which is a little bit easier for if you're a real beginner. I'm going to take my purple and just scribble it on my glass mat. Next our dark pink, excuse the squeak, a lighter pink, and I'm going to save my brush for actually transferring the colours across. Now the advantage of the clean colour is it will pick up the ink, but it will quite happily lose it afterwards. It can be a very quick way of creating some blending effects. So you can see that the colour blends out. So if I now take some of the warmer pink, and you can start to bring in some little details as you build your confidence up. Going to start blending these petals in a bit more, so it doesn't look like we're doing random colours. You don't have to be too precise, so don't worry if you do go outside the lines. And again we can go back, we can add shadow where we think shadows are going to fall. Add in our detail, allowing our pen to gradually get cleaner and lighter Now the clean colours and the brushables are all water based, so they're brilliant for watercolour effects without necessarily having the mess of a palette and brushes to clean and worrying about paint leaking and spilling across your desktop. And if you find that it's not bringing through enough detail for you, it's okay, you can go back over the top and you layer nicely. Right, and then we can start to work around our lower flowers. Now on the file that we've done here, our petals actually cut in two here, but what I'm going to do is treat that as a whole, because then we can use both parts of the frame, both the supposed inner and outer. Now just put in a lighter wash of colour to then add my detail to, which is the other way you can work. And by working with it still wet, it'll blend easily. And you carry on working around your design in this fashion. And you can be as tight with your watercolour or as loose as you wish. If you do have any questions, put them in the live chat. Now I'm going to show you with a water brush, for those that don't have any watercolour markers. So you can start by building your base colour, and if you're just working with a water brush rather than watercolour markers, I'd recommend doing that all the way around, so very quickly. and then by the time that you get back to your first one, it should be dry enough for your next layer. Any questions?
Not that I've seen. No.
The other thing to remember is good quality watercolours will always dry lighter. So even if you think you've gone too dark, chances are you really probably haven't. If there's anything particularly you'd like to see, just pop it in the comments. We have some Inktense pencils on standby, so we can show you how to add detail that way too. And I'm just starting to build back in some detail and a bit of shading while Ian falls off his perch. What are you doing?
Trying to hold on.
Don't forget we do stock Kuretake pens for those that want to add them to their collection. And you can find our website at plannercraft.uk. and clean my brush up. Clean the ink up. And always just clean your clean colour off. Doesn't take very much, so don't waste too much ink doing it. Next we're going to go into our greenery, and this is where you want to be really abstract, because we're going to go and add some detail after with some ink senses. Now, these aren't made up of one shade of green, they're made up of lots of different shades of green. So I'm going to start off by picking up some of our lightest colour, and from there on in you can start to add in more and more different shades. Think about the folds in your leaf, the shape, but more importantly keep everything nice and loose. Because especially if you want to use both bits of your design, you're going to want to go over the edges a bit just to add a bit of colour where your leaves are actually cut out. So you can see I'm starting to blend my colour actually beyond my pencil line. Then when it gets to a certain bit, you're going to want to start to build in your other shades, and you want to try and do this while it's still as wet as possible. So if you are getting any harsh lines, just blend them out. And work your way around your circle. Do you want to put up a list of the colours that I'm using? Man.
Yeah.
So I'm using pale green 45,
yeah,
light green 41,
yeah,
turquoise green 42,
turquoise. Borrow the pen?
Yes, you can borrow the pen, and marine green number 400. So you can see I'm not being overly careful at all. The important bit here is to just get a nice abstract colour down. Now you can see that you're starting to see the circle line appearing. We can come back and sort that after. For now, just focus on the leaves and the stems. And if it's starting to run out of colour, you can always apply more to your glass plate. Just going to try a bit more of that green so it doesn't go too blue. Now that we've completed our circle, we can now start to work on our detail, and we're going to follow it the same way around again. So you're going to think about where you want to have your shading. And this you can start to do a bit more precisely. And you can always use your lighter colour just to blend in your detail.
Mummy says it looks very pretty.
Thank you. Where items overlap, you need to start making some decisions as to which item is in front, and you can start to use your colours a lot more boldly at these points. Hope everybody can hear me okay.
Mummy said they could earlier when I asked.
In a minute Ian gets to cut this out. Now, because this leaf is going to overlap, whereas the other one we thought would be in front, we're going to make it considerably darker. So make a point of it being in front. just going to give my water brush a quick clean. Tidy up my desktop. Leave that to set for a minute. And finally, I'm just going to quickly add some drawing detail using some inked pencils. I have fuchsia, carmine pink, apple green and field green. You should always store your pencils with nice sharpened lead ready for use and sharpen them before you put them away. And I'm just going to use my Inktense in any areas where I think it needs a little bit more detail. I'm just swapping to the apple green. Now these pencils are water reactive, but they're not like normal watercolour pencils. They are permanent when wet and they have much more vibrant colour when you do actually take water to them. I always work with at least 2 shades of each colour that I'm working with, so that you can actually blend them together. They're really nice pencils to draw with. We can go back into our flowers. You could also add the centres in if you wanted to at this point. Just going to change over to my pink. If there's one thing that Inktense pencils don't do well is its pastels, because they are so full of pigment. So I'm just going to quickly just soften these up a little bit, otherwise they can look a bit grainy on some surfaces, such as this card that we're working on. to try and keep that look of watercolour. I'm unfortunate that it's a warm night, so this will dry nice and quickly so that we can cut it before we go. There you go. So there's our finished watercolouring. Just going to bring in my artistic mat. It's been used and abused. Yours will come shiny and white. Now while Ian's cutting that, and there's a number of ways that you could have treated the card prior to actually doing your watercolour. You could have applied an adhesive sheet to the back, which then makes it ready to stick onto whichever surface. You can use it so that you stick the centre panel first, using the outside as a template. Or finally, you can just pop it on and hope for the best. Now the card we're using is from the Works. It's 140 GSM, so it won't need to be cut that deeply. So I'd be using a standard cut blade, pressure of -1, speed of 1, and a blade of Master 5. Okay, we're going for a blade of 5.
I'm scanning it first.
Yeah. Yeah. So for starters, you're going to do a background scan. And this helps you align your cut file properly.
Original file on there, just placing it over the top.
I can't move that. The other thing that you could have done is you could have watercoloured it with it still attached to your mat. So long as you know that you're not going to go through your card, of course. The last thing you want is a mat with pink splodges. While Ian's doing that, I'll just bring your hot air balloon back in. One of the other things that you could have done is use a brown fine liner to add in some detail. You could also use black, but black I find tends to look a bit too precise with distress work. I'll talk to you about this pen as well. So the pen I have here is a Friction. It's the thicker one. And it's got a 0.7 nib on it. And it has the added benefit of being erasable. You noisy thing. So, for instance, if you started to lose your embossing detail here, I'll do it with black now. I would recommend you do it in brown. start to build some of it back in. And same here where we've done our highlights and lowlights. Sure where things go, you can always just rub your finger over to feel where the embossing originally was, or you can just merge it based on your actual line work. Some little movement lines, just so it looks like our little fans are going round it back. And then make this bit go right back. Now if you really wanted to, you could then go over all your lovely embossing lines down here. But personally, to keep the form, I would leave it as it is. How are we doing? How many minutes? 2 minutes to go. Whew. I could do a tap dance in that time. Yeah, I could, but I'd fall in the sink. So, while I'm waiting, I'll bring in my little skeleton, who quite weirdly has 2 right arms and no left one. If you look at the hands, it's very bizarre. Oh man. What I tend to do is I've got his hand above his head, so he's having a bit of a dance. So the way that I would actually shade him in is, again, we'll use the Distress ink, but we'll go back to our Heart for Art Creations pads because he is very detailed. And for this, you could either use the pad or the re-inker. In my case, it's just easier to reuse the re-inker. Just gonna blot him out so we don't have too much on our sponge. And let's start off with his head. Now go careful around his hip here, he's quite fragile around there. Otherwise he'll have to have a hip replacement. Oh dear. It's getting to that silly time of night again. Oh, see, look, like that. Happens to the best of us.
Broken his hip.
Yep, I've broken his hip. Yes, please. But poor Mr. Skeleton will withstand quite a lot. Now, what you want to do down the centre bit is, because we want it to recede, just sweep the colour down his spine. Again, make sure that you get a even coverage, otherwise you can end up getting all sorts of random splodges and lines. There you go. There's his main bit. Now let's do his arms. So what I found to do with his arms was to actually hold the middle and blend it like that. Otherwise it just becomes too fiddly with it creasing up on you. So tap it on the end and then slowly work your way down your arm to blend it in. Now because we've done that bit, I can put my finger over there. Start on his elbow and work upwards. And just blend. And finally we can start on his fingers. Bit mean to start on his fingers, but we can start on his fingers. There we go. So stop the end and work your way up. Okay. Now you're going to leave his boots for now. Might just need a little bit more ink on my work surface. And literally just you don't need to squeeze your dropper at all. Go. Just go back over any bits that now need to match. And finally, if his hands then look a bit in the image, we'll just put up a bit more just on the darkest areas. How are we doing?
I'm not impressed with the cut.
You're not impressed with the cut?
I don't think it's done it properly.
Oh dear, master machine setter didn't do it properly. Oh.
And that's what it left on there.
Didn't quite get it lined up.
Trouble is, it looks. I mean, I zoomed in on the screen.
Oh. Oh well, I'll redo it and I'll put up a cut version up on the website. Let down by the machine.
And it's cut most of it, but then in places not, but the blade didn't move.
Okay. Can't get the star. Anyway, I'll pop together the finished samples up on the website as well as on our social media. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, and occasionally Twitter if you're lucky. Don't forget to subscribe to the blog for the latest projects and new releases, and I look forward to seeing you soon.